Folks, we have a special episode of Warriors Digest. You have myself, Randy Silver, and we have
Arthur Ballesteros. What's up? How's it going, Randy?
Good. We're doing a tag team today, and I want to shout out Merp Time. This was a request by him. I've seen some other people say, hey, we have Randy on one episode, we have Arthur on another episode. Let's get them together and talk about Warriors basketball. Specifically, what are we talking about today, Arthur?
We're talking about free agents and the guys that the Warriors should be going after. I love this dynamic because I think that you're like the more sensible, level-headed. You're thinking about the salary cap, and sometimes some of my ideas are pie in the sky. So I think it's a great dynamic here to kind of play off of and see how we can construct the Warriors team so they can win a championship.
And I think you have to be sensible in today's day and age. With
Yes.
the different caps and everything. So we're gonna
Absolutely.
So we're gonna just start with who are the Warriors losing, so people are aware who we're losing, and then we're gonna go into the players available. And yes, we love LeBron James. I mean, some people probably would say no. Is it realistic? No. So we're gonna give you realistic options based off of what we can do with the cap. And again, with Kuminga, people say sign and trade, but no. If he signs for $30 million, only $15 million of it actually can go to sign and trade. So we have to be realistic. I see your guys' comments. Yo, we should do this trade for this trade. That's why I tell you, let's trade BP for Kevin Durant. It's not going to happen. The money has to work.
I think that the Warriors situation isn't necessarily as bad, and it has made us all into mathematicians and financial experts trying to figure this thing out and figure out how the Warriors can get a little flexibility here. And I think they have some good options.
And that takes us to the screen we're looking at right now. So we are looking at the Golden State Warriors 2025 free agents. Braxton Key, Kevin Knox II, J.K. Jonathan Kuminga, Kevon Looney, Gary Payton II, Quinten Post, he ain't going anywhere, Guy Santos, Pat Spencer, Teron Armstrong. So out of those, Arthur, who do you think is actually leaving the team?
I do think Kevon Looney is going to go, which I think is going to be a big deal for a lot of Warriors fans. Like all of us, of course, we have a lot of fond memories. He's done so much for this team. But I think at the cap price that he was at last year, $9 million, you'd have to expect that's going to go down. But I still think that there's better money spent other places than Kevon Looney. He's kind of showed that he's maybe a little too limited for NBA playoffs at this point for being a big man. But I could see a lot of these guys going, unfortunately. I could see GP2 going, although the video you did the other day was amazing. And I do hope that we can work out something financially where you can get him on a lower 4 to 5 million range. I'd be comfortable with keeping him. Otherwise, anything higher than that, I think that salary can just be better put to use there. Obviously, these guys on player options coming back. I really do wish that we could have seen a little bit more from Kevin Knox and Braxton Key. I think Braxton Key could be really interesting, although he's aging out a little bit. But his defense is really something that could be special that is needed on this team. But if you remember, like in the Houston series, he missed like 4 layups in a row. He just can't score offensively. It's going to be sad to, that just didn't work out because he could have been a cheap option. But who do you say, who's your number one guy that you think the Warriors have to bring back who's upcoming for free agency here?
I think it's got to be Kuminga. I think it's for the now and for the future.
For the future too?
And the future.
So?
Well,
oh no!
If you bring him back, you're not bringing him back on a 1 to 2 year deal. It's a 4-year deal. That's what he wants. He's not coming back on a 1 to 2 year deal, which means if you're bringing him back, it's not just for the now playing with Steph, Dre, and Jimmy. You're looking forward to Kuminga doing big things for you moving forward, because you're not going to bring him back for 4 years and let him walk then probably after. You're saying we're bringing you back now. We think you're a franchise player for the next decade. So if they bring him back, you're bringing him back, but it's got to be a deal that makes sense where this team's not going to be top heavy. Look at the Pacers.
Right.
Look at the Thunder. Why are they so good? 1 through 12 on the bench. They can play. They have people coming in off the bench. For us, we had our starters. And if you look at this list right now, Looney was offensively deficient. Quinten Post got found out as a rookie in the playoffs, which is fine. Don't expect him to do a lot, but he'll be coming back. Don't worry about that. GP2, hit and miss. Braxton Key is not playing. Knox is not playing, even though I do think Knox has some potential. Pat Spencer, who is your G League player, I love him. I would love him to come back. But again, if that's who you're relying on to come in the playoffs when Steph is hurt to do something, I'm not saying that's not a problem. It's a problem.
It's a huge problem. I mean, we saw it in the Rockets series when he was playing extended minutes there. And, he was impressive, but he's going to get, washed every time in the playoffs. But he's interesting as like a third point guard, a spot guy who comes in 7, 8 to 10 minutes maybe here. But I love the story and the energy that he brings. Same kind of with Guy Santos, although Guy, I think, has a lot more upside. So I do want to see more of what we can get from him, especially because he's only, $2 million a year or whatever, brings a lot of energy, things like that. But I can't believe you think that Kuminga is even going to want to stay around for that long. The way he's been disrespected just by, the perceived disrespect from the coaching
Correct.
staff. I just don't think he could ever really fully trust that he's going to be the next superstar in Golden State. So I don't think he has any motivation to stick around here for the long term. Although I do think the Warriors, as we see, maybe signing him and not doing the trade this offseason, and maybe they wait a little bit here until they can maximize that full salary going out in the base year, then, trading him around the deadline in the upcoming year, I think could be an option here. But I don't see him sticking around long term.
Yeah. Well, we will move to the free agents for this, but just to reiterate what you said, I mean, he's a restricted free agent. He doesn't have
Right.
control of his future. If he
Right.
wants to go, say, to Brooklyn, 30 million, Warriors can do that and say, okay, we'll pay the luxury tax, we'll pay all the fines, we have the money, we want to win now. Now, will he be a disgruntled player? That's a separate question, but
Yeah.
for him, he does not control his future, and that is something that I'm
No.
sure is a little bit scary for him. If he doesn't want to be
Right.
here because of the displeasure he's experienced under Steve Kerr and the coaching staff, well, tough luck.
Yeah, I do think the Warriors are going to be very conscious, though, of the appearance of holding back a player who potentially could, go and score 25, be an all-star on another team, and they hold him back as a restricted free agent. I think that's just a bad look for the organization as well, and they may be wary of that. But I know the JK thing, that's a whole other discussion here, but there's some interesting free agent
Yeah.
options here
And
outside of JK.
we've turned to the free agency, so thank you, Sporadic. They have listed all the free agents based off of their salary from the previous year. So we're just going to go down this list, and I'm going to say, Arthur, you're going to say yes or no. Would you even want this player? And then we'll go into realism.
Huh.
Can you actually afford this player with a word? So the first
Yeah,
player on the
okay.
list, LeBron James, $50 million, $52 million player salary. If he opts out, he's not leaving the Lakers. So
Right.
it's not.
Yeah, not an option. I think like 1 through 7, you can basically say, yes, I would want them on my team, but not at the cap hit that they're going to cost, and it's not realistic.
Correct. Like Chris Middleton, I think could be a good fit, but the problem
Yeah.
is him and Draymond play the same position. So I
Right,
guess what you
right.
would do is you put Steph at 1, Jimmy at 2, Chris at 3, Draymond 4, 5, or you put Draymond at 5 and Chris at 4. And Draymond really has been vocal about not wanting to play 5 all season.
Right.
So it just doesn't fit probably the scheme. But as a player, he would fit us very well in terms of what he can bring to the table.
Right, absolutely. But I still hate that in terms of you're not spending money on more size. You're spending for kind of a redundant player there, which I just don't think is a good
Correct.
use of money.
Who's also been injury prone the past couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you got Julius Randle. We saw what he did in the playoffs against the Warriors. He'll be earning more than $30 million this year. He's getting a
Right.
nice payday. So now you're getting down to more realistic players. You got John Collins, Brooke Lopez, Clint Capella. Brooke and Clint have been trade rumors for us multiple years. I'm pretty sure you did a Brooke video, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Brown, Malcolm Brogdon. Any names there you like?
I mean, Brooke Lopez, I think, is a top 3 target for me for the Warriors. Now, his age at 37 years old, it's a huge red flag. But also, when you look at his durability, he only missed a handful of games last year. Over the past 10 years, outside of like one major injury, he's only missed a handful of games each year. He's really durable for his size, not really showing his age, only getting better as a 3-point shooter. I think he fits the scheme perfectly, although not the elite rim protection or rebounding that I think a lot of us are asking for. I think he's the best plug and play option, but I don't want him to be the only move. And how realistic is he? I think a lot of that depends on how much of a salary cut he's willing to take to give another go at a championship, which I think could be interesting. He's also not from the Bay Area, but he went to school here at Stanford. There's a connection there.
Yep.
He's a huge target. Clint Capella is interesting, although doesn't fit the system nearly as well, and I think it's going to be a little bit too expensive. I don't think that he's really a starter anymore per se.
One
But
person
yeah,
that we always talk about, or have heard, Steven Adams. I'm pulling this up on the screen.
I
Steven Adams
know.
just signed
Yeah.
3 years, 40 million, 39 to be exact, with the
Yeah.
Rockets, 13 million per year, which is the same salary Moody's getting. Good for him. But that
Yeah.
is a big man that would be a nice fit. So, the Andrew Bogut type we haven't had in a decade, off the table.
Right. But see, I think that that's a good sign for the Warriors because I think that his number came in a little bit lower than a lot of people may have expected. So I think, looking at a 32-year-old Steven Adams getting about 13 million a year, Brooke Lopez may be around that same level, if not less than that. So could be more attainable there. So I think it's good. I was surprised to see him go for that cheap, honestly.
Oh, I
But
thought that
maybe
was
hometown
expensive.
discount.
He doesn't play a
You
lot. He's
think
been hurt.
I know, but you saw what he did in the playoffs and how he really just completely could change the dynamics of a game. And I think that his value was increased because they knew that the Warriors and the Lakers were both going to be looking for a player like
Correct.
that. So,
But then you go
but
back to Adams, and now he's out of the game, which is
right,
tough.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So one name that I see here I really like is Miles Turner. I've $20 million per year. I've talked about him getting traded. Reports during this finals have come that Turner will be staying with Indiana. Indiana is willing to go over the salary cap issues they've had, go into the first, second apron to be able to retain him and keep this team together. And it makes sense why. But I think
Right,
Turner would be a great fit with his inside outside shooting, can make
right.
threes, his hustle play, pick and roll. That would be somebody I would love to get, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I know I think would be the number one A target if it was realistic. But I think that, there was a lot of chatter obviously early on, connecting him. But obviously after what's happened with Indiana here in the playoffs and the run that they're on, I just don't see them letting him go whatsoever, like you said. But I think you go now for the poor man's version of Miles Turner, which is Bobby Portis. He's somebody else who really excited. He's up there for me with Brooke Lopez, just in terms of
$1.1 million.
which I think, I mean, it's a reasonable swing here for the Warriors. They can find some flexibility there. I know he still would have to opt out of his contract. So I think that he's probably going to get a little bit more. That's where he could be in line for the mid-level exception. Now, are we going to have that available? That's going to be interesting
Yeah.
because it all centers around Kuminga and what's going to be freed up there. But I think Brooke Lopez and Bobby Portis are my top ads for the Warriors to go after. You get size, you get some rebounding, you get some defense, you get some hustle, you get 3-point shooting, and players who fit the system, veteran players, championship experience with both. I think those are no brainers on who you target.
If you continue down the list, you got Naz Reid, 13 million player option for 15 million if he wants to stay. And we've seen what he does against the Warriors. He'd be
Right.
great another. He's like Quinten Post, just much more physical, more experienced in the NBA.
Yeah, he's my number three. Those are my top three right
Yeah.
there.
Then you got Moritz Wagner, the center with Orlando, who's done a great job. Club option,
Yeah.
11 million. I don't think they're going to let him go, especially
No,
with his brother being there. Yeah, I'm just looking at centers right now. Al Horford, he's probably staying with Boston or he's
yeah,
retiring. What other? Like it's a small group. Kevon Looney on the list again, 10
yeah,
million. Andre Drummond, excuse me, Drummond. Andre Drummond,
yeah.
Philadelphia. I mean, he's just a bench player for us. Dwight Powell with Dallas could be a nice fit with the pick and roll with Steph, but not a lot of center options. Tristan Thompson, obviously, we know his
Yeah.
history against the Warriors.
Yeah, and there are some other like players on the scrap heap who haven't been talked about a lot, who I think could be because the Warriors are going to try for I think everybody here, and they're going to miss on a lot of them, and I think that they're going to be trying to cobble something together with some size. That's why like for me, somebody to target would be, and I know he's a little bit undersized, but Gershon Yabusele over in Philadelphia. I like what he does and the way he could potentially fit into the Warriors system here. Although a little bit undersized, not as much rim protection as I think we're looking for, but still somebody who provides that spacing and who can rebound and eat up some minutes at the five
What
there.
he did in the Olympics was wild.
Right, I
Back
know
then.
the block on LeBron, like yeah, I mean, helping France win the silver medal, it was crazy. But yeah, so see, there's just not a lot of great options here, and I think it remains to be seen. I know the Warriors have talked a little bit about wanting to really shore up the defensive end at the five there, but will they really do that? I think history continues to show us that they are just going to prioritize offense and shooting there at that position, but.
Hey, Ben Simmons, there's your center. He doesn't leave the paint anyways, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, great. If this was 2018, that would be a dream come true. I remember a lot of talk about that way back in the day. Ben Simmons, my lord, what a waste of talent.
Yeah, so I just went down the rest of the list. You can see now you're getting down to like the 1 millions. Not a lot of centers there. Again, the other players that they really need is a 3 and D winger.
Right.
I saw Lindy Waters is free agent. Maybe they bring him back. He did decent, just was very streaky. Obviously, we know what
Yeah.
happened the first preseason game when he hit the 5 for 5 and hit the game winner.
Yeah. And I mean, the Warriors love to bring back old favorites. They've been doing
Yeah,
it forever. And I mean, I think that, DeAnthony Melton is another guy who a lot of Warriors fans have been asking to give another run here. I don't know how healthy he's going to be coming off of that tear,
ACL,
but
yeah.
yeah.
Jay Crowder, maybe a couple years ago. You could bring back Damian Lee, shooting guard. Steph
He's
Curry.
still in the league?
Yeah, with the Suns. He's Steph Curry's brother-in-law,
Right.
of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Luke Cornett did okay with the Celtics. Cameron Payne, he'd be a nice.
Yeah,
I'd take him as a backup point guard and let BP do more shooting guard.
yeah, I would like to see that. I don't love BP as the primary ball handler with the second unit. I would like to see something else there. But
Seth
I mean,
Curry, I see that in the chat a lot. Seth Curry bringing the Curry brother.
now why not? That just seems like I think he only made like 2 or 3 million dollars
3.3
last
million
year.
last year.
Yeah, so why not bring the Curry brothers back for this last run? I mean, it's this upcoming season's like a movie, basically. It's the last Curry run. I know everybody signed for 2 more years, but I feel like this is going to be the last real push where he hasn't fully aged out. So why not bring your brother on, get some shooting off the bench at a low price? It would be better. I would rather have Seth Curry at this point than GP2, just because we don't know how available he's going to be all the time. He's always hurt.
What about a future Hall of Famer? 3 seasons in a row of averaging a triple double. Russell Westbrook, who just opted out of his deal with the Nuggets.
I mean, I don't
Backup
hate
point
it.
guard.
Yeah, I
Backup
don't
point
hate
guard.
that at all.
He's
It's got
good
to
for
be
you
at the right
scoring off the
price.
bench. Defensively, maybe not there, but like
Right,
scoring wise, he will get you 10 points a game just himself.
right. The
Not shooting the
leadership
ball.
there. Yeah, 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 yeah. Not, but the leadership that you get out of him, I think if you can get him around the $7 or $8 million range and make something work there, yeah, absolutely. I would love that. If you can get five like Bobby Portis, add Russell Westbrook in, and then maybe get a little bit of a younger athletic 3 and D type guy like Alexander sorry what yeah, Alexander Walker out of Minnesota. If you can snag somebody like that off the free agent wire, um, yeah, I think that you're looking like a great team there.
What about bringing back Dario Saric?
I didn't really follow him afterwards. What did he do
He's been
after he
sitting on the
left the
bench in
Warriors?
Denver. He hasn't done much.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know what it is. Like, I think that us as Warriors fans, we all end up falling in love with so many of these players, especially fringe guys on the bench, that we always call for them to come back. And I think we saw it with GP2, although that worked out with the
Yeah,
championship run there.
ring.
But you want him back? You want to see Dario Saric again? You want to see him running back?
Not really. He's not going to play much defense. He'll sit on the
Yeah.
three, get you maybe 1 to 2 threes a game. But
Yeah.
I think we need to get younger. When you have Jimmy, Steph, and Dre around,
Right.
excuse me. Yes, they bring energy, but you need some young guns to get up and down the floor. We know this. One, we give up too many turnovers, which is a different story. But when we
Mhm.
get turnovers, we need to get out and open, make it easier for us. And I think you need some younger 3-point shooting, and that's where like people like, yo, go get like a. I'm gonna take us off of the screen for a second. We'll go back to the 2 box. A little production term for you guys, 2 box. You talk about the Warriors, like what do they need? 3 and D, and if that's going to involve getting up and down the court, if you're going to continue to bring in people maybe a bit older, 82 game
Mhm.
season, the grind, it's going to slow down. You need some young
Right.
guns with legs. Like look at OKC, young with legs.
Right.
Indiana, relatively young with legs. Denver, they kind of, why did they lose in the playoffs? They're a bit older. Jamal Murray's wear and tear. Warriors have wear and tear on them. They need some young guns who can withstand an 82 game season.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. And I think that they do have some of that in terms of Podziemski, Moody, a couple of guys who can be impact
Both have had
players.
surgery this offseason.
I know, and that's what we see here is these guys are laying it out because they're young and trying to prove themselves, and they're just going a little bit too hard maybe, and being thrust into situations maybe they're not fully ready for their bodies yet. But yeah, I absolutely agree. More That's why I think somebody like Nas Reed, I don't think that it's realistic, but I think that bringing in some, I know he's not your 3 and D wing guy, but at least at the center position, somebody who's 25 years old, who can eat up 30 minutes a game, who can still hit threes, who can get you some boards, who can provide a little bit of rim protection there and spare Dre at the 5 full time. And then you're able to switch Quinten Post in with young legs there. I like a young front court like that. I think that that could give the Warriors a lot more versatility and help preserve the legs a little bit there. But you still, again, you've got to get somebody young, 3 and D on the bench there as well to come in
Yeah, and
and spare, yeah, Jimmy.
he's got a player option of 15 million. Like I definitely think if he goes open market, he's getting 20, 30 million
Yeah,
easy.
yeah.
So I expect him to opt out of his deal. And I think Minnesota, they have to decide, do we keep Julius or do we keep Nas Reed? They won't be able to pay for
Right.
both.
Right. And because also they have that albatross of a contract with Rudy Gobert
Woo!
sitting there at the 5 with like $43 million, I think, in the upcoming year. Yeah. So Nas is definitely the odd man out there, but he would be an amazing pickup for the Warriors.
So if we go one last as we round third base, we're gonna go to wing player on the list when you filter it down, and it's not gonna work. Sick. Okay, let's try shooting guard. There we go. Shooting guard. Shooting guard. You got Harden, Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown would be nice. He gets very streaky.
Right.
If you look at his contract, he made 22 million last year. He's 28 coming in his prime. He's probably making 25 to 30 this year. Probably gonna
That's
be
too
too
much.
expensive.
Yeah. Way too much. Yeah, I mean, Luke Kennard, I think, is interesting there. He is one of the better 3-point shooters in the league. He can play some defense as well. He's got a little bit of length to him. But yeah, I think kind of at that $14 million range, I just think that there's more need at the 3, 4, 5 position than there is at the shooting guard there. Because you just have so many guys who can switch in and out there for the Warriors between Moody, Podziemski, Steph. Yeah, I think that there's needs to be more size, length,
I think
defense.
who they draft will help us understand what's going to happen in free agency. If they're drafting a big center, it means in free agency they're prioritizing probably getting shooting in 3 and D. And you can assume Looney's probably gone. If they're getting a center, you're going to have TJD, Post. They draft a center if it's a
Yeah.
traditional center, and maybe they do get a Nas Reed who can float between positions. If they go and draft a shooting guard, which I mean, this is the Warriors, they do that. Then you can assume
I
that, you know what,
know.
maybe they're trying to get a proper center in free agency and backfill with a plug and play shooting guard off the bench, which is
Yeah,
something
I
I've
mean,
broken down in my draft videos.
yeah, no, I really have enjoyed that. It's really, yeah, you provide some great insight and analysis there. And I think that your analysis also being spot on with the Warriors drafting older college players because of the need to win now. I think it's one of the things that a lot of the narrative is that the Warriors won't play young guys, but we saw how much time Quinten Post got during crucial stretches last year. Like, if they're good and they can knock down shots, they're gonna play. So somebody here who is getting drafted, especially at the 41st spot, could become a pretty decent contributor off the bench there. So
You tell me I'm
uh,
getting Nikola Jokic in the Taco Bell commercial?
I mean, that would be insane. But I mean, yeah, it's gonna be that 41st spot is interesting, and the Warriors have some history there before. I mean, you remember Eric Pascal
Yeah.
back in the like what a flop there. But there is obviously you can find some gems there, like you mentioned, Nikola Jokic. The Warriors have found gems even deeper in the draft. I mean, even look at just last year with Quinten Post. I think what was he,
Correct.
55?
Yeah. Mid 50s.
And I think that this is a different era of Warriors drafting too. Bob Myers gets so much credit for being the architect of a dynasty, but the drafting during the years after Draymond Green was just atrocious. And now the jury's still out on MJD's picks, but they're looking better already. So I do have some trust in him being able to add a valuable piece here into the bench.
Correct. And James Wiseman is the one that hurts.
Oh my God.
But
I mean,
also, but like, I mean, he only played 3 games in college before everything went down, but
Yeah.
the talent was there. I actually saw him in Orlando when I was interning with the WWE.
Oh yeah.
The Pacers came and they put Halliburton in
Oh.
the ring. People may have saw on social media, but
Mhm.
I was the one who lays on the Pacers from where they got dropped off into the back where they were getting held. And
Okay.
I was next to Wiseman. I'm 5'8". He's 6'11", 7 foot. I was like, you
Yeah.
are tall. And I wanted to be like, bro. I was wearing my Warriors
Yeah.
hat. I wanted to say something, but professionalism, you don't say anything.
Right.
But I was just like, damn, it sucks. And then a week later, he got hurt. I was like, damn,
Yeah.
what a bummer.
I mean, he was an amazing athlete, and we say it like, he's
Oh. Well, folks, unfortunately, the Zoom ended. We had a great conversation there, so we're going to keep going and say this is the end of the video. If you want more from Arthur and I, please let us know. We'll love to do stuff like this, give you the content you need. And again, comment your thoughts. Who do you think we should go ahead and get? And we'll do some Warriors chat. We like it. Have a great night, y'all. Bye.